Well, for more on President Xi's diplomacy efforts in Italy, I'm joined by Brai Odion-Esene, founder of SW4 Insights, which is a public policy advisory firm. Welcome, Brai.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with this look at Italy opening the door to more cooperation with China, including on its Belt and Road Initiative. What are some of the key ways that both countries are hoping to benefit from this?
Well, starting with Italy, I think you have a country here where they're one of Europe's largest economies, but at the same time, they ended 2018 in a recession, right? So economic activity contracted in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Recent unemployment figures have shown that they have unemployment numbers in double digits. So they want to attract more investment. So they view this initiative as a way to attract more Chinese money into the country, hopefully spur greater activity, and I think ideally open up Chinese markets to Italian businesses.
And so we obviously know that there have been some concerns raised about closer ties, especially when it comes to the Belt and Road. What are the critics' main concerns, and how are they being addressed?
Well, I think so Italy is a member of the G7 and a NATO member. So they view this as perhaps a backdoor way for China to get access to both, to get the tech, key like tech and all this stuff. And I think what they're thinking of doing is saying, you know what, this signing is not a done deal. It's just an MOU that says, let's explore closer ties between Italy and China. So I think what they're saying is that we will make sure that we are going there with both eyes open.
Right.
We'll have clear negotiations. We're not naive, and we'll perhaps not fall into the same trap that others have fallen into in terms of higher debt levels, etc.
And so how do you think the signing of this memorandum of understanding on the Belt and Road will impact Italy's relationship with the EU as well as the US?
Well, this is not the first time that Italy has rubbed the EU the wrong way. They've had previous tiffs over the budget, over migration. So I would just add this to a long list of issues between the EU and Italy. And Italy has constantly pushed back, especially the five-star movement is not a fan of the EU. Neither is the League. So this will not change that. In terms of the US, I think it's too soon to tell. You might see a situation where if this goes from an MOU to a more stronger relationship between China and Italy, you might see Italian companies that perhaps have Chinese partners face stronger scrutiny when they want to do deals in the US. Or you might have the US be more reluctant to cooperate with Italy when it comes to national security matters.
And so as this starts to be picked apart, essentially, with Italy going a little bit rogue compared to some of its other allies, we know that China is now the EU's second biggest trading partner after the US, and the EU is China's biggest trading partner. So how would you characterize that China-EU economic relationship?
It's a complex one, because on the one hand, there are areas where both sides agree on a lot of things and want to actually deeper their engagement. So whether it's reforming the WTO, securing peace and security around the world, climate change, they're very close on those parts. And then you have the part where they view China as a competitor, especially when it comes to advanced technology. And the issue here is because the EU, frankly, is 27 countries that sometimes have divergent priorities. That is a core sticking point. So you have a Germany or France who want to protect what they consider to be national treasures in the manufacturing area. You have countries like Portugal, Spain, Greece, and now Italy that say, you know what, our economies need this investment. We need these partnerships. And so I think that's where you see the second point.
And you highlighted something interesting there. They always talk about the tale of the two EUs. You have some of these very strong performing economies in the EU and some of the struggling ones who really are looking for more opportunities. Now, let's also look at the China-US standoff. Where does the EU stand on that?
So I wrote an article about this last week. I do believe the EU actually agrees with the US on all of the points it's made in its negotiations with China. The issue here being that the Trump administration does not really favor a multilateral approach to addressing these issues. They prefer going it alone. And so a lot of the issues that the Trump administration has raised in their talks with China, be it IP protection, fair access, or fair and equal access to markets, are the same things the EU wants for its businesses. And so I think what the EU would have preferred to have done is to work hand in hand with the US to talk to China and address this issue. So right now, I think what they're hoping for is to say, you know what, we're not going to follow the US path of tariffs and protectionism. Instead, we're hoping diplomacy and deeper talks will get us the same results.
So then which sectors do you think going forward will allow China in the EU to have the most cooperation?
Well, I don't think it'll be tech because there's too many sensitivities around that. So I think initially you're looking at areas like for example, with Italy, and I think your previous reporter said that was investment in ports, infrastructure, upgrading key segments that the EU knows will facilitate greater trade. I think that's one area, that's an obvious one. Another one would be eliminating trade barriers between sectors. So for example, if you're an EU bank or EU financial services provider, you have the ability to do business in China the same way a Chinese competitor can do business in the EU.
All right, well, thank you so much. A lot of good insights there. Thanks to Brai Odion-Esene, founder of SW4 Insights.